Hello, everyone. Welcome along to the VCO Esports studio with myself, Ben Constanduros. As you will know, VCO is all about combining the worlds of the virtual and real world of motorsport, something that I'm very personally passionate about and have been actively involved with the last couple of years, and now have the privilege to kind of front up VCO and the studio that we hold every single week. We've had over 30 guests on the VCO Esports studio, so if this is your first time, then please make sure you take a look back at all of our interviews, very, very famous names, and really in-depth chats with everyone to find out what makes the world of their esports tick. You may have been following that VCO also support various different championships, whether it be their own VCO Pro Sim Series, which will be culminating in a couple of weeks' time, or indeed other championships on R Factor 2, or, as is the case this evening, the 24H Esports series from effectively what was Neo Endurance, and they combined with the real world Creventic Endurance series, and a championship which is effectively now won after last night's performance by Biela Racing, and an opportunity therefore to find out a bit more about Biela and their star driver Sven Haase joins us this evening. Now, first of all, I like to do this with all the guys. Did I say your name right, Sven?
Yeah, mostly right. Yeah, it's pronounced
Mostly
Hase,
right.
but Hase is all fine.
Okay, the S is a Z. Cool, that's good. Because, we don't get a chance to chat in a paddock like we would do in the real world, so it's always a good opportunity to find out exactly how you say all the names. Sven, how long have you been involved in the world of esports racing?
Basically, I just started with iRacing in 2018, so in February, and before I was doing a couple of hot lapping in Project Cars 1 and 2, but nothing special there. So basically, starting with the esport side or the sim side of this sport is starting with iRacing in February 18.
Wow, that's not very long at all. What kind of drew you to iRacing and getting involved?
I was for a short time in a league in Project Cars 2, and the standards of racing had been quite, let's say it short, not good there. And I was looking for some better opportunity to have nice and clean fights, and also the ability of the other drivers to be higher. So I have more like a challenge to win the races.
Presumably, though, you have been spending many years racing on all different kinds of games and platforms previous to your esports participation.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was like Project Cars 1 and 2. I did start with Tokka 2 in 1997 with the Microsoft Sidewinder. So that was basically the state of art at this time. So and from this moment on, I was infected by it, but it's ebbing up and down. So sometimes I am doing a lot of this, and the next year I'm just saying, oh no, step back and do something else. So I was quite frequently changing my sides of things. So.
And what do you think made you change and have those ebb and flows? Is it real life interruptions, or just kind of needing more and more challenges?
No, I was before I came to the sim racing world. I was in a strategic game, and which is basically running around the clock, and I was looking for something which is not used to put my alert to be on the computer at a certain point. So, and I said, oh, let's do some racing. So I had my T300 for the Project Cars stuff, and I said, come on, let's have a look for something more competitive, and yeah, here I am.
So the world of motorsport, were you particularly a big fan of motorsport generally before you got involved in the esports side?
Not really. I'm still not.
But no, that's really interesting.
No, I'm just a big fan of MotoGP and two-wheel stuff, but all four-wheel stuff is just not interesting me at all. It's too boring, in my opinion.
Wow. So you've not tried your hand at MotoGP Esports Championship?
No, it's not the same. I mean, the two-wheel simulators are just basically like in Stone Age for the moment. So in about 10 or 15 years, it will be like on the level we have with the actual simulation possibilities for the four-wheel cars. And so the fun fact is like 10 times higher here. The delay on the MotoGP simulator is like horrible. I was once sitting on one of them in 2019 before COVID, and yeah, it doesn't make fun at all.
I'm really fascinated, therefore, to kind of hear your story, knowing that you're not drawn in by a Michael Schumacher or years of watching Formula One, and actually, what what gives you the passion and the interest there for racing computer games, if you like?
In the end, it's like every other game you spend a lot of time into. The community is the most important point. So basically, the team and hanging around and just discussing and everything. And from this point on, we just say, "Oh, come, let's do this or that series and race some stuff." And basically, mostly of the time, I am the one who's just bringing the guys to the track and saying, "Look, let's go, let's do some stuff." And but yeah, in the end, it's like when you want to having this passion for one thing, you need to build around you some kind of a bubble with a team. And if this is not working well, you lose the passion really quickly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the team then. Obviously, the team with a headline name in Frank Biela. We've seen a couple of times Frank kind of announced as driving as part of the team. How involved is he in your organisation?
100%. He's basically day in, day out in the team speak also.
Cool. And what does he bring to the team?
Apart from the knowledge about racing and all the strategic stuff from his previous endurance racing, he's also having still the passion and just pushing us more ahead and telling us, "Oh, let's go, let's do it." And yeah, that's kind of cool stuff. I mean, if somebody with a name like this size is also that passion for a thing and telling you, okay, you can achieve the things if we just work hard for it, and yeah, you start to believe those things earlier then, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the history of his involvement with your team.
I joined the team pretty late. Before we founded Biela, the basic, the main structure of the team was together already for a long time, starting with, I think it was Gran Turismo on the PlayStation back in 2010. And when they started with the iRacing thing, they joined another team previous to us, which is called Phoenix Racing. And yeah, from this point on, everything is just stepping up and up and up. And in the end, we decided to do our own thing end of 2018. So yeah, they had basically a long story together already before I came to the team.
And within some teams are great teams, but without particular great partners. But interesting to have the name like Frank Biela, the team structure that you have, and a really big name in your sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, sometimes it's kind of also with the luck we have to that we own Frank in our team, or let's say that Frank own us in the teams. It's depending whatever you think about, and so we are trying to deliver as good as possible on the track. And Frank, with his obviously big name in racing stuff, he has doors we would never had open without him. So he's just a major help for us.
So what does the sponsor bring to your team then?
Apart from the possibilities of that we are able to get some, let's say, reduces on stuff we order, or let's say the help we get from EURONICS for, let's say, when we just want to found one of our own series, maybe or not, or let's say for the EURONICS is asking us also to take part on some stuff depending on Corona, yet not anymore, but to stay on some of their how it's called in English. if they have a stand somewhere and for hot lap competition and everything, so
Yeah.
to make the team more popular, and that's kind of cool. So, and the other thing is quite sponsorship as at all is also let's say some money. Yeah, so
Cool. That's really cool too. That's great to have. Biela Racing isn't just involved in iRacing though. They've kind of branched out and seemingly across the whole of the racing esports scope and community.
basically we are mostly on iRacing, but with the World X, we've now advanced also to R Factor with only for the series for the moment, and some of our teammates also just playing for some private reasons in Assetto Corsa, but mainly we are just in iRacing and want to push that ahead before we think about taking up new advantages from maybe other sims coming also.
And how have your team found the adjustment going from iRacing to R Factor 2? In a way, I suppose the same question for you, going from Project Cars to iRacing.
I think the way is nearly the same. With the World X, the new big series may be coming up and has started now with the first run, I think a week or two ago. And I think that's a big chance also for, let's say, a small team like we are still, to make our name more bigger over the time. And we are very happy to be part of that. For sure, it's really tough for us because we don't have any experience in R Factor 2, so other teams have quite a big advantage above us. So we needed the first run to just let it come to us, and let's see how far we are off the pace for the moment, and trying to improve to the next one step by step, as we did it with iRacing before also. And yeah, I mean it's the second big sim in the game at the moment. It's iRacing or R Factor 2. The rest is basically, I wouldn't say trash, but it's like not the same level. And for me, it's with the Project Cars to iRacing. It's basically just iRacing has this standing system and the competition, which is basically that high. Yeah, that's why I decided I need to go there if I want to have more fun in racing.
I guess for you, because you're not a mad motorsport fan, realism is less important than having really good competition, right?
That's true, yeah. If the realism wouldn't be that great, I'd be here also if the competition stays. But to be honest, 95% of the other really good races, they are looking also for the realism. So in the end, they would leave iRacing if it's not real, or if it's just falling apart from the realism. Even though I'm telling sometimes that it has nothing to do with the real world, I'm pretty sure about.
So let's talk about the 24H series, a championship that exists in the real world with the Creventic series, which is, by the way, kicking off next or this weekend. In fact, you'll be able to visit Creventic to be able to follow the 12 hours of Mol Mugello. 4 hours on Friday afternoon and 8 hours on Saturday. And you'll see my face again, I'm afraid. But in the virtual world, much, much bigger this year, thanks to kind of the partnership between the two, with Neo Endurance before and now 24H series. We've spoken about realism doesn't really matter for you guys, but you have absolutely mastered these 6-hour races in this championship so far, Sven.
The Neo Endurance series is pretty tough, and there's also a really big competition. I mean, the pace-wise difference between the first and the last car in the class is less than half a second. So basically, it's not being on the biggest hot lapper. It's just about staying consistent, staying as good as you can, and not dropping off the pace. And traffic management is quite the most important in the series. With the 4 classes, it's quite horrifying sometimes if you come through the traffic and 2 or 3 classes are just crisscrossing each other and you don't know where to go, but you need to pass, otherwise you lose a horrible amount. So it's basically 50% of luck that you have good traffic management, and the other 50% is like training and pre-building up the setup. So I'm not taking the stakes too high at the moment for ourselves.
Okay, but you guys obviously working very, very hard, especially this last week, because you had a new build for iRacing that came in and didn't really give you guys too much time to get your Audi sorted for the 6 hours of Barcelona. Was there much that you had to change because of the new updates for iRacing?
Yeah, the biggest problem we, for our own driving style, had, and I think that's basically also to 95% of the other competitors, that in GT cars are not allowed any more negative toes on the rear, which was basically massive before, and helps the car rotate a lot mid corner. So it wasn't too much to be changed, but the changes you want to make, you never did them before because it was not necessary. It was quite some hours of testing necessary to find out what the car needs now to have the same kind of feeling under your wheel to compare it to before. Yeah.
So how much testing did you do? Because effectively, if my maths are correct, you only had 10, 12 days to get it right.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. Yeah, a little bit less. I think Tuesday was the build and Sunday the race, so it just 10 days. The first week we were just testing around stuff and not really focusing on the race because we want to understand how different cars react to the fact that we are not able to do this or that anymore. And from the next Monday on, so 6 days previous to the race, it was like every evening 2 or 3 hours to just update the setup all the time and bringing ourselves back into contention. And it's always like the same. If you're not having any time you can run against because you don't see any of the other cars before, you're always pushing harder and harder and harder, not knowing which is the benchmark you need to reach.
And do you think, therefore, that you reached let's say, a higher benchmark for Barcelona than your competitors? Because there really was a bit of a switch around for all of the different competitors in the series.
First of all, I gotta say that Barcelona is, with the last sector, quite like a gamble all the time. We were pretty lucky that we had quite good qualifying spots. We were focusing a lot for the last 2 days before to the qualifying. So we know that we start from the first 2 rows, and starting from P1 and P3, which was basically even better than P1 and P2 because just starting in the same row will make us being 1-2 in the first corner for sure. And that's in the end the fact that if you're in Barcelona not managing the traffic well, you will drop off. Never mind how good your pace is. In a series with 4 different cars and you are the fastest class, it's like you can easily lose 2 seconds while you push 20 laps before catching in the tens every lap, and in the last sector you got trashed by some slower car, and So basically just manage your traffic well, and you can even be like 2.2 off pace and stay faster in the end of the race. But I think our pace was like also 0.1, 0.15, maybe 0.2 quicker when it comes to the late race pace or double stinting, because we're almost focusing a lot of time for worn tires that we can keep up the pace really high then.
So in fact, you kind of worked on a setup on a used tire, a well-used tire, rather than working on a setup for a brand new tire.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, a brand new tire, it's always quite not so nice because iRacing should have made it possible, like you drop a set of tires after using it for one stint into the box, and next time you start practicing, you can keep that out again on the car to continue on this tire instead of just driving a whole stint again. That would be perfect for us. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of you build a setup, you ride a complete stint, and in the end you just look at the data, how much I drop in the end. Did I drop, or how did the car feel in the end, and what did I need to improve that the car is going to be better in the end of the stint? But it always takes like 45 50 minutes to figure out that you just adjusted something in the wrong way. So that's basically just how much time you want to invest and how much time you have.
But also, as you've kind of mentioned before, I think you're the only team or only car that hasn't really had a score that, if we had drop scores, you would drop. You've had decent results from the first round in Imola. Okay, that was kind of the worst of the results, but after that, you've taken all the victories, I think.
No, we were second in Sebring in the second round.
That's right.
I mean, Imola was on an earlier build even, so there was a major change for the car after Imola, which was suiting us a lot. Imola, the downforce of the car was quite low, and the car was really sketchy, and I didn't feel really confident in it, and same as Luki did. So we had a horrible qualifying there, and just worked up the order slowly and slowly, and I think we finished fourth with a lap down to MSI in the first race, which is far away from what we want to achieve. So we started to work really hard on the car after that first round, and yeah, basically when we catched up back to the grid and we're happy with the car, was coming this major change, and luckily with all the changes done to the car at this build before, it was already suiting us a lot with the kind of stuff we built up the setup now. So the other one started at a 0 point, and we had already like a really good setup from the first day on for the next build. It was luck, but at this moment, but sometimes you need to get luck also when you work that hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have definitely had luck on your side throughout the season. You only need a couple of points, I think, in the final race at Spa, and double points are on offer. So you really don't need a really very big result. How do you approach a race where I think if you retired out the race, you still need to finish or get to 70% of the laps and be in 15th or above, which is not that hard because there's only about 17 cars. How do you approach a race where you don't need a big result? You don't really need to do anything. You could just cruise around, but maybe that might catch you out worse than being full out attack that you've been throughout the series.
Yeah, we could. I think enough would be if we finish in P13. I think that would be enough points. We need 5 points, I think. But yeah, aiming for P13 is not what we are looking for, obviously. A race is a race, and as a racer, you always say winning is the best feeling you can get. So we are pushing ahead and trying to continue our winning streak, which is basically super hard. So we need to invest again a lot of time. But I think we are all wanting to do it, and also for our second car, which had super bad luck here in Barcelona this time, we want to achieve for them also a really good result in the last race and see how far it can go up the order, because the standings are still pretty close from P10 to P4 or 5.
Yeah. And a 12-hour race at Spa for double points will be on the 17th of April. And that will be the final round of the 24H series, which is actually just 1 week before they should have raced for real at Spa in a 12-hour race. But in fact, they've moved that race now to Paul Ricard. So the second, or actually it's the second round of the European Championship, but it's the third round of the real championship, because they had their first round, which was the 24 hours of Dubai, which I always forget because it's not in Europe. But what lies ahead for you guys as Biela and yourself, Sven, for the remainder of the year? Because having a championship wrap up in April does kind of give you a lot of scope to do other things.
Yeah, for us, it's always the two series which are going apart for the winter, which with the Neo and the SEO are starting mostly in late year, like October, and continuing up to the April. And over the summer was all the time the big events coming with the Glen, Nürburgring, Spa. Previous years also Le Mans, which is dropped this year, and the Petit Le Mans series in October. And I've heard that also Suzuka is coming to it, like 10 hours in November. and that's basically for the
Which is
summertime.
ironic
And
because Suzuka have just cancelled that. So that's going to
oh,
be a race that only exists in the virtual world and not in the real world, whereas Le Mans will be the other way around. Yeah. So, okay. So special events then is kind of your focus.
yeah, I mean, the wintertime, obviously, out of Corona, the wintertime with the cold weather and everything, nobody is so much outside and just enjoying the summer or the weather outside. So we have all more time during the winter than during the summertime. And it's basically in the summer, like doing some officials and maybe some hosted races and these special events. And in the wintertime, we can focus on this private series and with little bit more effort needed during the whole winter time or during the half year over the winter than over the summer, because we normally do like 2 weeks of preparation, more or less, for some big events, and the rest of the time, yeah, the team's just like a little bit split it over the summer. Quite understandable, I think.
Well, it does sound like you've got a good balance of life and esports, which a lot of people perhaps don't. So that's nice to hear. Can enjoy the sun and be outside a little bit during the summer months. Sven, thank you very much for joining us. Really great to learn about Biela Racing, EURONICS, and yourself, and kind of a bit of a unique story actually, and that's why it was so exciting to hear from you. Because I've done 35 of these interviews, and pretty much everybody says, "Yeah, I'm a massive Michael Schumacher fan. I started watching racing in 2002." Nope, not from Sven. So that's really cool. Thank you very much for joining us, Sven, and good luck in the final round.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. To the whole esports and to the VCO, all the best, and see you next time.
Awesome. Sven Haase, with a kind of a Z rather than an S, from the Biela Racing Team EURONICS, and you can catch him racing on the 17th of April. The 12 hours of Spa will be throughout that Saturday. Most of the Neo Endurance races have been on Sunday, so just be careful of that one, 17th of April. And VCO will be back before then with their final round at the end of March. The VCO Pro Sim Series will be happening. And that's the chance to see the likes of Max Verstappen and all the real world drivers with the sim drivers fighting it out. Although most of the trophies have now been handed out, it'll still be a very interesting race because there'll be a very, very big announcement on that day as well. And I think we'll probably double it up with a VCO Esports studio at the same time. Make sure you tune in every week. Monday at 8 o'clock, we'll have another guest for you next Monday. Until then, have a great time esports racing, and it's goodbye from me. Bye-bye.